You guys, I am not focused today. I wasn't focused yesterday, and the old perfectionist overthinking me is screaming, do not post this video because you're rambling and you're all over the place. But the new me is telling me, well, this is part of your experiment too, to share openly and honestly. And if you were to wait for every perfect video, then you wouldn't be sharing anything, girl. So just put it out there before you regret it. So here are my very unfocused hashtag very possible likely to have ADHD, very unfocused reflections from the last time we talked. And by the way, if you do not know what I'm talking about, I'm doing this personal growth challenge to become what I have become on the inside, deep, deep, deep down there, by learning how to choose my thoughts on purpose, which it might not seem like I'm doing right now, but life has its ups and downs. Done it. Thank you, and I apologize in advance. If I was to sum up, the biggest thing I've learned about myself during this experiment already is that overwhelmed seems to be my middle name. Wow, 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 wow. How often I get overwhelmed. And the funny thing is, the really interesting thing is that I've had a couple of very busy days, okay? So I got up early in the morning, I went to work, and then straight from work to this gathering with the board on this island to have a dinner, and then just to bed, back to work the next morning, and yeah, a couple of days just went by like that. And these days where I had a lot of things to be done, I didn't get overwhelmed. I was fine. Honestly, I was fine. And I just had this one moment at the dinner with the board that made me really have to challenge my own old beliefs. So I thought, okay, great. When I'm back to having not such a busy day, that's what I'll talk about. That's the reflections I will share. So then came yesterday, the day where I was supposed to be recording a video and telling you what's been going on the last few days. I didn't have a lot to do yesterday, but that's when I got so overwhelmed. And that's so interesting because before, I used to get overwhelmed by having a lot of stuff in my job situation, right? And I mean before, because I haven't had that in a few years actually, because of what I've learned about myself and how I work and all of these techniques that I'm using. So when I'm at work or in any situation where I just have all of these tasks lined up, but I know what's about to be done, I know when I have to do it, I know how I'm going to do it, then everything is fine. I just show up and I feel quite good now. And I realize now that that's actually pretty good. So maybe I should talk about that sometime, because I have changed so much in these situations where I used to get overwhelmed and now I'm just not. But now I get stressed and overwhelmed on my days off by kind of my own projects and things to do. No, by my thoughts about my own projects and things I have to do, as you might have realized already. But it's just so interesting to me that that's when the overwhelm hits me. And when I think about it now, it's actually quite a good proof that this whole bottom line of my experiment is actually true. It's actually working, that I get more of what I focus on is the one thing, and the other thing is, the main thing is, it's not the tasks or situations themselves that gives us thoughts and feelings about them. Sorry. It's not the things or situations themselves that gives us feelings about them. It's our thoughts, what we think about them, that decides if we get stressed out and feel bad and all of that. So that's definitely working, because if I can go a couple of days having stuff to be done from morning until evening without getting stressed or overwhelmed, that means it's not about the things I do or the tasks at hand, right? Because then I would be stressed those days. But when I have my day off, damn girl, what is going on up here? I don't know. So to get to the point, I was going to record yesterday my video about me changing my beliefs a couple of days ago. But then, oh my god, this plant looks like it's part of my hair. That was very disturbing to me right now. Anywho, don't lose track. Where were you going? Yeah. I just again started thinking about, oh, I need to record this video. I have already decided what it's going to be about, but I wasn't alone. I didn't have the house to myself. And I was thinking, when am I going to get it done? Where will I get room for it? All of these things. It doesn't really matter, but I was just spiraling. And at the end of the day, I found myself just thinking, what have I done today other than sit here and think about all the stuff that I needed to get done? And I just got so overwhelmed, I got paralyzed. And it wasn't even a big thing. So it's the same that happened a couple of days ago, right? But this time I just couldn't find any techniques to stop myself from spiraling. So, because I was just so far in it and I couldn't be bothered to use something to try to get myself out of it. But that's when I remember, when all else fails, there is one thing, when I remember it, that's always helped me in these situations. And for me to tell you about that, I just need to say first something about my inner being, because I do feel like it's sometimes a bit cringy to say inner being or inner guidance or inner voice. So let me just explain what I mean by it. So if my mind is the part that provides thoughts and analyzes things, then my inner being is the part that just knows. So if we didn't have this kind of inner being, then we would never question our beliefs. We would never have a gut feeling. We would never yearn for something more like peace or clarity or happiness, right? We would just follow our mind, analyzing things, doing things, kind of like a robot. So I see my inner being as the part of me that knows what I want and what makes me feel good beneath all of my thoughts, because most of my thoughts are just programming of my mind from all of the experiences I've had in my life. So my mind just teaches what I've been thinking and using those thoughts on autopilot, right? But my inner being is beneath that. Not beneath it, like in a bad way. Above it, but also beneath my thoughts. My inner being just knows what feels good to me, what feels right to me. When I have a gut feeling, that's my inner being. When I have stressful thoughts, that's my mind, right? So two kind of different parts of me. One is just a product of my surroundings, but the other is the true me, kind of. And because I have reflected on this distinction, I've also come to the conclusion that I can use my thoughts either to focus on what my inner being knows, and when I focus on what my inner being knows, I feel good, because then my thoughts are aligned with my inner being. Or I can focus my thoughts on the opposite of what my inner being knows. Things that are not aligned with my true self. And then I feel bad. So, I know that if I feel bad or overwhelmed, because what is overwhelm really? I think overwhelm is when we want something, but we are also having doubts about it. And then what we want is kind of driven by pressure or fear or the desire to control the outcomes. That's when I get overwhelmed. Instead of just doing the same things without all of these thoughts, then I'm aligned with my inner being, right? So I know now that when I feel overwhelmed, it is because I have been thinking thoughts that are not aligned with what my inner being wants. And that's when I ask myself these questions. First, I ask myself, okay, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed out right now, what does my inner being feel about this? And I always get an answer when I ask that, because then I just tell myself to let go of all of the external factors and ask the person beneath these thoughts, what does this person that's truly me really feel in this moment? Really feel about these situations that my thoughts are stressing out about. So when I asked myself that yesterday, I got the answer. My inner being feels like this is me experiencing the exact thing that this experiment, this personal growth challenge of mine is about. To notice when I'm using my thoughts on purpose and aligned with what my inner being knows, I feel good. And when I'm using my thoughts on autopilot or letting these external circumstances control my thinking and my reactions, I feel bad. So I'm experiencing that right now. And then my inner being says, this is actually providing great value to you because you learn something about yourself. You're learning that overwhelm in your days off, when you have the time to think, that's when you get overwhelmed, because you focus on all of these things that are not aligned with what you know. So, what I know is, I do best when I choose the path of least resistance, when I support myself in my thoughts, when action comes from inspiration rather than trying to motivate myself to force an outcome. I know all of these things. And it's actually, my inner being says, providing value also for this experiment and for the people listening to this, because this entire experiment of yours is about reflecting on what happens, not just what seems to be working for you, but also what kind of challenges you have and how you deal with them and what you learn about them. So I have learned something really important for my own progress right now, which is to know how easily I get overwhelmed by my own thoughts when I have the time to think. And trying to take action from that point of view, from that place, will not lead me anywhere. And if I force it through, the results will not be good. And also my inner being says, You have already planned what your video was going to be about. But life doesn't always go according to your plans, because your plans are these kind of external things you have put out there to reach and to take and to do something with. But that's not always how things work. If you want to follow your inner being, if you want to follow what you trust and know, take life as it comes. And then I ask my inner being, or then I ask myself, okay, if I was to believe what my inner being thinks about this, what would my next thought be? Or what would I do next? And then I got the answer, you're definitely too far down in the rut right now. You've been trying all day to get stuff done by thinking about the fact that you have to get stuff done, and you have just been sitting there in your own mind. So that has obviously not been working for you as you already believe in, because you're not taking the path of least resistance. You're not allowing wellness into your experience. So what you should do next is allow yourself the rest of the day off. Go to bed when you're tired. Go back to this in the morning when you have slept, when you have stopped the momentum. And just open your camera and share what this experience have taught you. Don't care about what you already planned to be recording, because this is your whole experiment. To share what is actually happening real time. And I don't know, right now I feel like I've just been rambling, so I don't know if this makes sense to anyone, but what I'm trying to say is the best way for me to stop my overwhelmed thoughts when I just can't seem to distract myself or get myself out of it by these other techniques. Remember that having negative thoughts and feelings means that I am working against what my inner being knows. My inner being knows that everything is a process, that I learn something from every experience I have, and that unoccurred events can happen all of the time, but that's the whole clue, to not be driven by these things that happens in my life, but by choosing what I focus on. So, today's big lesson is, remember that there is this deeper part of me that doesn't really believe all of my thoughts. When this part of me, my inner being, believes all of my thoughts, I feel good. Because then my thoughts are aligned with what my inner being knows. But when I feel overwhelmed or stressed and paralyzed, not able to take action, is also when I shouldn't take action, because that's when my thoughts are the opposite of what my inner being knows. So to take that as a signal, to take my negative feelings and overwhelmed, stressed out mind as a signal that I need to stop, pause, zoom out from the situation, and by zooming out, I ask, what does my inner being feel in this moment? And then, when I have that answer, what would I do next or think next if I'm to believe what my inner being is telling me? Then I have zoomed out. I'm seeing the bigger picture. Because what happens when we get overwhelmed and driven by these expectations that we set for ourselves. I'm a perfectionist in my head. I need to do things like this and I need to do them yesterday. But I lost track of everything I was saying right now. This is my mind. This is how I work sometimes. But it's okay. That's life too. So this is also a reminder for me to remember that I'm sharing real time and I'm not just here to provide value by teaching all of the things that I already know. My value is in me actually experiencing the ups and downs of life and trying to remind myself that there is always something to learn and to allow myself to learn from that and to share openly and honestly about what I'm going through. Because I don't want to admit to myself that I get overwhelmed, because that's not okay in my perfectionist mind. But that's the old me that I'm trying to let go of in this personal growth challenge. The new me is the person that chooses to realign with my inner being as often as possible. And yeah, that's it for me today, I think. Thank you.